Assalamualaikum everyone. Today we are going to do the color glazing chart. So all you need is 2 water containers, a flat brush, old cloth, and palette with your watercolors on. Right, first of all, clean your brush and you can pick up your pigment. I'm starting with yellow. You need as much color because you're going to cover the whole stretch. So you can work from columns or you can work from rows. So I am going to start with rows. Since I'm using a watercolor resistant pen or water resistant pen, I can just brush along across the lines so the pen line or pen ink won't smear. I forgot to mention that you need also your watercolor glazing chart. We are going to use 10 colors and the colors are yellow, orange, red, light blue, dark blue, light green, dark green, reddish purple, bluish purple, and brown. I'm doing a second layer because my first layer was too light. You can add as much layer as you want, but I'm just stopping at second layer, right? Because I still need to retain that transparent look. The difference between mixing color chart and color glazing chart is the mixing. You have to mix the colors in the palette and then you apply it. So mixing doesn't happen on paper, but with the color glazing chart you are actually mixing the colors on paper. Alright, if you notice later on in this video, I have mixed the colors like reddish purple, bluish purple on the palette, but I have glazed it with the colors from the rows and columns. So mixing is you mix on the palette, glaze is when you mix it on the paper. That means you have to wait until one layer dries and then you apply the next layer. So the keyword to glazing is you wait until the layer on the paper dries and then you apply it. In contrast to the color mixing chart, the glazing chart is much more vibrant. Glazing is also layering of different colors. That's why it looks vibrant after it dries. Now I'm going to show you how to clean up if you made a mistake. Right, I purposely let the color go over the line. So how to clean this mistake? You wash your brush clean and then take off a butter a bit while damping it on the cloth, and then you rub it on the paint that's on the paper while the paper is still wet. You can also do this when the color has dried, but it works effectively when the color is still wet and you use a damp brush, wipe it. Alright, but it's better if you damp using a cloth or tissue. Right, so I'm wiping it with a damp brush again just to make it clean, and then you dab it instead of you wipe with cloth. You can use tissue or cloth to dab. Right, and then once it dries you can start painting again. with the glazing chart, you will also notice that you are able to control the value. It slowly go darker when you add different color after it dries. Now I'm working on the orange. If you notice, I did not completely color the rows of orange because I don't want the color to bleed to either yellow or red. Okay, that's why I leave it like that. And if you notice, I colored the alternative rows again because I don't want the colors to bleed to the other boxes or other rows. So that's why I work on alternative rows until it dries, then I work on the subsequent rows. Also, for you to remember, you can't glaze over darker colors, so make sure the color is light and dry. Now I'm working on columns. Right, again, I'm not coloring completely the boxes. Right, now notice how the color changes. Alright, and then compare it to your mixing chart and see how this is much more vibrant. Often the transparent colors usually give a vibrant outcome, so I don't make my colors opaque. I don't make it really thick. You can also this technique is called wet on dry. That means your paint is wet and your paper is dry, but you can also work wet on wet. That means while the paint is wet, you add on the next layer, but I wouldn't advise it so much. It's better if you do it while it's dried. So a glazing chart is how the colors look layered on top of each other, while a mixing color chart looks how the colors are mixed in each palette. I actually waited for around 4 hours until I work on the columns because I want my colors to completely dry. Even though my colors are very thin and I use a lot of water, and for the fact that I know my watercolor paper absorbs water quickly, I still want to make sure that it's completely dry. I've checked other videos on YouTube and they advise that it's better if it's dry and then you start working on it, or else you would not get a very neat and clean outcome of the glazing chart. Alright, this is the complete chart. Right, notice how vibrant the colors are compared to your mixing chart. Right, make sure you label every rows and columns. The same colors on the rows should apply on the column as well. And there you have it.